Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and add one more feature. And this is going to be optional because I'm not going to fully implement it. So the feature I'm going to work on is new account creation. And the reason I say it's not going to be complete is if you were doing a real account creation system, you would want to have password strength and you would want to verify the user's identity using email or telephone verification or some other two-factor authentication type of thing. Um, but for this system, we're going to not collect any personal information other than whatever username you want to supply, whatever password, and then whatever playlists or videos you create. So the information doesn't need to be secure, but it does need to be segregated so that you can actually use the system effectively without people changing your data from you. So it's just basically a way of associating your data with a particular account so that you can access it. So that said, and we're not even going to provide a method for deleting an account once you've created it or for updating any of your user information. It's just going to be fill in the form, press the button, you have your account, you can do your thing. Really, the only input validation we're going to do is make sure that the form's filled out and that the user name isn't already being used for another account. So what I'm going to do is start in the login form. So under users, make this a little bigger, under the user templates, we just have login.html. And here's the form you use to log in. And I'm just going to add another button for register. So let me go ahead and break this line. And I have a login button. I'm going to add a register button. And I can just use the same form for both things because I'm only collecting username and password in any event. So I don't need to have a separate form for that. I can just make a register button here, and then they can either register or log in. And then the way that the backend is going to know the difference is by adding a name to the button. So this will be type and a value, and this will be register. And then this thing here, this is going to be name as type, and then value is login. And then in my request.form in Flask, just like I have text equals username and password equals password, I'm going to have username is whatever they type into this box and password is whatever they type into this box. This is going to be type is either register or type is login. So in my user routes for the login page, first thing I want to do is I want to validate an additional field. So this is going to be type. So type comma error, and this will be type. Now, so if I get an error here because this isn't specified, it'll be something like password is invalid or password not specified. This thing will be type is invalid or type not specified. I don't know that the user is going to know what type means because it's really what button they pushed, but I don't know any way to get around that. And in any event, it's hard to actually get here without pressing the button unless, these two things would have to be specified, but not this one. And I don't really see how that can happen. So I'm not going to worry overly much about making this more explanatory. But if I get an error, I'm going to write the error. And then here, I can go ahead and get the user, but then the way I deal with the user is different because if they're logging in, they can't log in if the user doesn't exist. But if they're creating a new account, they can't create a new account if the user exists. So we'll go ahead and we'll get this user here. And then if type is login, then we're going to do some stuff. Now it might make sense to actually make a subfunction for this, but it's not so long. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that for now. So if they're logging in, then everything's exactly the same. Else, we'll do elif. Elif type is register. Then we're going to do some stuff. Else. So we should never get here, but just in case we do, I'm going to go ahead and write an error. So this is going to be unknown type. Let's say unknown login type. Login type must be login or register. Yeah, once again, I don't know how they're going to get there, but it doesn't hurt to have that catch. All right, so this is a little complicated. So we know the user is none, and that we have username and password. So I'm going to go ahead and make a user object, and in order to do that, I don't need username and password. I need username and password hash. So in my user account, towards the bottom here, I have verify password, and it uses bcrypt check pw. So I also want to add a method, and this one is not going to run on a user object. It's just going to be a static method. So static method hash password. And that's going to take a password. And then what I want to do is use bcrypt to generate a salt. So salt equals bcrypt.gensalt. And then I've been using 13 on this machine, which I think is fine. And then now we're going to say hash is equal to bcrypt.hashpw. So we're going to encode the password into binary, and then we're also going to include the salt. And then I'm just going to return the hash. All right, so that's going to take a password and return a hash. And then here in my user routes, we're going to do user equals new user. And we're going to pass in, we need username and user dot password hash, or was it hash password? Yeah, hash password. Password. All right, so that's going to go ahead and create a user object, and then we're going to add, call the add method on user. And apparently I don't have one of these yet, so I'm going to need to write it. So all this is going to do is call add user. So we're going to do, this is a regular method, add user. It takes self, which is the user object that I'm going to add to the database. And then from database, import database, database.add user, and user. Oh, that's self. All right. And then in database, we need an add user method. So there's, let's see, I'll just put it, there should be an add playlist here. I'll just put it after add playlist. Except it probably uses upsert. Actually, I have save video and save playlist, which uses upsert, but I'm just going to go ahead and do add user. All right, so CLS comma user, and then we want to connect, and then user dict is user to dict, and then we're going to do CLS dot users collection. We don't want to update one here because we know it doesn't exist already. So we're going to do insert one, and then just pass in UserDix. So that should be it for that. Now we have one problem, which is when we log into this account, it's going to, the user state here, when the user gets logged in, the user state is going to be completely empty. And let's see, so it's going to set the user, it's going to call this read data. Read data is not going to have any data here at all. And the one place where that's going to be a problem is if you look at read data. Yeah, so this read data method here, it's going to read Dix, which is going to be empty. So you get an empty list of videos. And then it's going to read playlists, and that's going to be empty as well. And then that's going to be a problem here because you can't really do anything without all videos. So I either need to explicitly add a new all videos playlist to the database, or I need to change this so that if playlist.allvideos doesn't exist, we make a fake one, we make a new one. I mean, I kind of think that shouldn't happen in read data. It should happen when the account gets created. So we don't want to put it as part of making the user. We probably want to do it in the account creation code in register, basically. So let's go back to this user route here. So this is going to go ahead and add the user. And then we also need to make all videos is a new playlist. And we need to supply some data. So let's look at what the data is that we need to call the constructor. So we need to supply this stuff. And I'm just going to paste this in as a comment here because it's kind of complicated. So this is definitely longer than one line. So we're going to go ahead and break this. So the first thing is going to be the name, and the name is going to be playlist.allvideos. And then the list of videos is going to be empty, so I'm not going to give them any starter videos. I could give them a starter. So I could actually, you know, if this was a real system, I could make a marketing agreement with somebody and get them to pay me to put their videos in here as starter data for new account creation. So that would be an opportunity to monetize the site. And then for the thumbnail, I'm going to use the same thumbnail as I've been using for everybody else. So just this, of course, if this was a actual website, I wouldn't be using somebody else's picture for all videos, but you know, it's only as real as it is. So there's a thumbnail, and then the description. So let's do a formatted string here. So this is all videos for, and then I have my username. And then user key is user.getKey. And then playlist map. I'm not actually logged into any user account, so I have no map yet. Map will be created when I log the user in. So I'm just going to give it an empty map, empty dictionary, and not worry about it. And then I do want to save this into the database. So save is true. So that's going to make an all videos playlist. And then I don't actually need to store this anywhere. I just basically needed it to get added to the database. And then I want to log into the account. So I can either redirect to the login page, or I could go to a page that confirms that they created the account, and with a button for login, or I can just log them in. So what I'm going to do, the easiest possible thing I can do is I can log them into the account they just created and redirect to the home page. So that's what I'm going to do. And I think that's it. So let's go ahead and try it and see if it works. So I'm running main. Oh, I got a server error. Oh, let me rebuild the data here. Let me rebuild data here. And then I'm going to go to main and rerun that. And then I actually need to, yeah, I'm going to, so I think I actually have a cookie from some stuff I was testing out before. So I'm just going to launch a new incognito window and go to localhost 8443. And I'm going to create a new account called test user, password test me. So obviously no password strength requirements, which is also not something I would want to do for a real site. But okay, so login attempt failed because the account doesn't exist. So let's register. And I got a server error here. So user object has no attribute add. I thought I added an add method here. Oh, I called this add user. This should just be add. But then it should be calling database.addUser. So the difference is that add is a method that I run on a user object, whereas add user is a method that I run on the database. And so I need to pass in the user object. So that's why that's different. All right, so let's try it again. I'm going to go back here and I'm going to type in my password again and register. Okay, so now if I go to list all videos, it's an empty all videos list, and I only have that one playlist. So I can like create a new music video, and I'm just going to put in garbage. And then I'm going to make a new playlist. And that's going to be garbage as well. And then I'm going to add a video to a playlist. So add XXX to my Y playlist. And then there's my XXX. And then here's my Y playlist with the video. So everything seems to be working correctly. I'll just delete a video and delete a playlist. So I can't delete all videos. That's good. I can delete Y. And then I will log out and log back in. And that works. So let me go ahead and try registering again. So that should have told me that, okay, so that should not have happened. So in my user route here, else if register, I want to say if user is not none, then I want to register. I want to render an error. So this is registration failed. Registration attempt failed. And then I would never do this in real life. I would just go ahead and send them a page that says I sent you a verification link. But then here it's fine. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and try logging in again. Actually, try register. So register. Registration failed. but I seem to be logged in. That's probably, I'm logged in as test user. Let's try that again. Let's see what, I think previous attempt logged me in. I think that was a testing error, not a system error. So registration failed. Yeah, and I'm not logged in, so I have to log in first. So let's make sure this still works. So that worked. Logged in as test user. And then let me try an invalid account. That still fails. And then let me make a new account. Test user 2. Register. So that still works. So here's test user 2 with my playlist. So this seems to be working for everything now. Just test user 2. Log in. Works.